Alright guys, so pickups video time. Yeah. Some physical games and some digital games as well, which don't really feel like pickups, more like pick downs, because you download them and because they can't actually show anything really without editing and showing you the screen, which I'm not going to bother doing. I'll just talk about the games that I bought. So I'll start with the digital games. So I've got Island Time VR. It was on a sale. And yeah, sales are usually the only time that I actually even bother buying digital games. You know, because I just really resent not being able to get games on disc and not actually owning them. I do kind of feel like you're renting games if you buy them digitally. You know, you can't sell them on when you finish with them and that kind of thing. You're reliant on server support in the future, maybe, and stuff like that. So yeah. But on sale, you know, some of these games are unlikely to ever get a physical release, and some pretty cool little indie titles on PSVR. So I do have the odd digital splurge when the sales are on. So yeah, Island Time was reduced to not a lot at all. It's a puzzle game. You're stuck on an island, and it's kind of trial and error. You have to interact with the objects around you and escape the island, basically, or survive on the island. The survival element to it is quite urgent. It doesn't take long for you to start starving, and things like that. So you have to kind of look after yourself on this little island, very small, very cartoonish world that you're in, but lots of interactivity and a puzzle game, effectively. Lots of replay value because you die and you have to start from the start every time you fail to keep yourself alive. And like I said, it doesn't take much for you to start wilting on that island. So yeah, but it's quite fun, quite cool, and it's worth a few quid. Yeah, not bad. Okay, so the next digital game that I got on sale was Headmaster. This game came out a long time ago, and I've kind of been waiting for it to go down in price for a long while because I was intrigued by it, but I didn't want to pay the full price for it for what is essentially a headers game. Yeah, it's an entire game about headers. So you've got a football flying at you, and you've got to head it and hit targets, basically. But they have actually managed to weave a story around it. You wouldn't think that there'd be as much variation in this game as there actually is from a game that is essentially just you going like this over and over again. But yeah, the physics are really good once you've actually managed to grasp the kind of slight subtleties of the control method. You know, it keeps reminding you that you're not supposed to jerk your head back and forward. You're supposed to move your whole abdomen like that. Proper head. Have it. So yeah, but actually it's actually quite good. There's a funny little narrative that runs through it. You're kind of a test a test subject in this football academy thing run by some dark and mysterious force. But yeah, it's quite addictive. Just you know, especially if you've ever actually been into football and you know how satisfying it is to pull off a good header. You get the same kind of feeling in this game when you hit a target. Goal! It's actually really fun. So if you ever see Headmaster on sale, I could recommend it, definitely. I don't think it is right now. I think the sale that it was on has finished, but if it's reduced again, you can get it around £5. It's well worth it. Next one is Shooty Fruity. Again, this came out quite a while, and I've been waiting for a sale again. Got really good reviews. It is just a wave shooter, and there's a lot of wave shooters on PSVR, so you need something unique to make you stand out from the crowd, and this one does. It's a strange little gimmick where you're working at a checkout till in a supermarket, and in order to have guns delivered to you along this conveyor belt above your head, you have to scan items that are coming down the conveyor belt below you. So yeah, items are coming along and you're working at the till, you have to keep scanning them, picking them up and scanning them and putting them down these chutes, and that will then send these guns out which you can pick off these little hooks and fire at the enemies that are coming towards you. Enemies like exploding melons with faces, these cartoon fruits kind of thing, but it's actually really good. Graphics are nice and crisp, the tracking is solid and really responsive, and that's of course really important for any game, especially a shooting game. But Shooty Fruity is actually a lot of fun. Yeah. And it's been a while now. It's kind of looking unlikely that would ever get a physical release. Yeah, I kind of hold off on new releases a lot of the time to wait and see if Perp Games will ever release them on disc. But I don't think that's likely. If it does, if any of these games that I bought do end up coming out on disc, I will be seriously pissed off. But there it is. You take the risk. So I think that's all the digital games. Right, so now some physical stuff. This one was a bit of a rush of blood to the head. And I'll just show it first. It's Super Hot VR. Now, and as you can see, it's still sealed, and it will stay sealed because this is purely for collecting purposes. I've had this game digitally since it came out on launch. The hype for the game and the reviews of its previous incarnation on PC was so good that I picked it up on launch at midnight as soon as it came out, and it was well worth it. It's one of the best games that I've ever played. Certainly in my top 10 games of all time, if I was going to do such a thing. Fan-fucking-tastic. I've talked about this game before, and I've done a gameplay video of it as well, which I'll link in the low bar. But yeah, I got it on disc just for collecting purposes, to honour the fact that it was brought to disc, you know. And yeah, I'll never open this seal. There's no point. I already have it. I'm kind of disappointed that this physical release wasn't packaged with the TV version of the game, because yeah, there's actually two versions of it. There's a full-length, free movement, proper first-person shooter style game that you can play on the telly. But then in VR, you've got this different version where you're kind of stationary in each location that you put in. But yeah, so even though I had sold my Mega Drive collection, the collector bug is still there, and there I am buying a game that I already own just because I want it in a box on my shelf. So the collector bug is definitely still there. I haven't escaped that problem. But yeah, so that's it. Okay, next one is Radial G Racing Revolved. Revolved, yeah. It took me a long time to get around to getting this game. It was on my radar from when it first came out, because I thought, ooh, futuristic spaceship racer in VR. Now that sounds compelling. But then, of course, Wipeout VR, a Mega Collection, came, and it usurped this game completely. And Wipeout VR is by far and away the best racer in VR that you can get, subjectivity notwithstanding, that's my opinion. But yeah, before Wipeout VR came, there was this. And it's actually really damn good now that I've finally got around to playing it. It's different to Wipeout. It does differentiate itself from Wipeout in the fact that you're racing along a kind of tube on the outside of a cylinder, effectively. All the tracks are these tubes, and you can, ride all the way around them, and that gives it an extra element of kind of, 3D nature of your movement and stuff. But it's actually really good, yeah. Nice and fast, nice crisp looking graphics, and that element of being on the outside of a tube is pretty crazy at times. Yeah, it's actually really fun. I can recommend that, and I got that for about £10 on eBay, so Radial G. And yeah, another game brought to us by the good people at Perp. Lovely. Okay, the next one is The Impatient. It's from Supermassive Games. Supermassive did a string of games for VR. Unfortunately, some of them have not lived up to their potential. This is probably one of them, but I guess it depends what you're expecting, really. This is kind of a horror VR experience sort of thing. It's heavily narrative driven. There's not a hell of a lot of game to it. It's more kind of a story that you're in, and But the unique element to it is that you're kind of at points dictating how the narrative develops. So you choose different options, different paths, different conversations, different reactions, and that will dictate how the story plays out. So there's some replayability there in the fact that you can see the story develop in different ways. And yeah, it's a psychological thriller. It's it has got some quite effective jump scares, I'll give it that. I did scream like a girl on occasion whilst playing this game. Yeah, so it's pretty freaky. And the acting's great. The characters that you meet are quite well rounded and complex, so you can't always figure out exactly what their motivations are and how you should respond. So there is a certain level of strategy in terms of working out how to deal with the people that you encounter in this game. And it also has speech recognition. That's a really cool feature, and I really hope that more VR games will implement it in the future, because it does add that extra element of kind of immersion, where your voice is a controller in the game. So it basically gives you these two choices. I've not finished it yet, so I don't know if there's more than two choices later on, but currently there's two choices for every kind of dialogue tree that you come across, branch that you come across. And you basically have to speak the lines that it shows you, and that will activate the next kind of progression in the game. So it's actually quite fun. There's not many games that have done this voice recognition yet. Star Trek Bridge Crew has it, and that's probably more fun because that's certainly more kind of, there's more depth to that, and you're really executing game commands, you know, sort of thing. It feels more kind of fluid, more natural. This still works pretty well in this. You do have to be quite clear. There were occasions where I kind of wasn't, you know, maybe I was too northern or too mumbly or something and it didn't pick it up. So sometimes you have to repeat yourself and make sure you're clear enough for the game to pick you up. But I like that element. I like that element of using your voice as a controller in the game. It's, yeah, it does give you that sense of immersion, that sense of connection in a new and interesting way. Well, I say new, of course, voice recognition has been a technology for decades now, but to see it implemented in VR can be quite effective. So I like that aspect of it. Great graphics, great production value, not very long. But again, lots of replay value if you wanted to, because to see how the story plays out differently. It's alright, it's not shit, it's just, I don't know what, it's probably suffered from people's expectations of it, wanting it to be something else, something fuller, something closer to a kind of adventure game that we're used to. You know, this is very much an experience, very much a kind of interactive movie kind of thing going on, but it is freaky, it is effective in scaring you, that's true. So it's alright. Again, if you can get it cheap, it's worth a look. And I got this for about a tenner, I think, somewhere between 10 and 15 quid. I can't remember exactly. The Impatient. But Supermassive are a good studio, and I really hope that they get the green light to work on more VR projects. I think it feels like, and from quotes from staff at Supermassive, they may have been rushed by their benefactors to put these games out before some of them are ready. That certainly seems to be the case for Bravo Team. That was rushed out a little bit, and it's got a patch since. Bravo Team's a lot better than when it first came out, but Supermassive are clearly a studio that have some great ideas and some commitment to VR, so I really hope that they can, despite these relative failures of Bravo Team and Impatient, I really hope that they can carry on and do some more stuff in VR, so that would be cool to see if they do that. Alright, the last pickup is Ultimate VR Collection. Now this came out pretty early in the PSVR's lifespan, again from Perp. God, I love those guys, Perp Games. And at the time, it might have been a little bit more valid to call this the Ultimate VR Collection, because it was slim pickings at launch. So, you know, here's a bunch of indie games that they've put together on one disc release, and it's a great idea, and I really, really hope to see this happen more often. But again, this came out near launch, so it hasn't happened again since then. Not in this country at least. I think there's been a Japanese multi-pack release, but yeah, it's a good idea because again, you know, there's a hell of a lot of really cool, smaller budget, shorter length, but really fun indie games on PSVR. So to see them grouped together in kind of group collection releases like this makes a lot of sense, and you think those studios would be really up for, you know, having their games put out on disc in this way. So yeah, I kind of wish it had happened more. It hasn't done, but anyway, yeah, so it might have been more valid to call it the Ultimate VR Collection near a launch. These days, I don't think you can get away with having Ultimate in the title of this game collection, because they're not fantastic games. They are fun, the ones that I've played so far, don't get me wrong. Now let's go through them. So what's it called? Bandit 6 Combined Arms is a very simple but very addictive shooter. You're just shooting at basically warplanes, and you have to, you know, but there is a certain progression to it. You can upgrade your weapons and your defense and stuff like that. So there's a sense of progression that helps with it. It's very simple at its core. You're just shooting out, you know, kind of, you know, World War II style planes out the air. Sometimes you have to do protection missions and protect these other big planes that are being attacked by little fighters. But it's alright, it's fun. I've had a couple of sessions on it, and I've enjoyed what I've played so far. And yeah, it's alright. Dext is pretty cool actually. It's with the Move controllers, and how to describe it? I guess it's kind of similar to Rez in the way that you kind of, you know, you hover, you trace over lines of enemies, and then you release and it shoots. But in this way, you have two Move controllers, and one move is orange, one move is blue, and you're having to cancel out the enemies of the opposite colour. So you have to, it's kind of strategic in that way, that you have to make sure you're shooting at various enemies with the right Move controller. But so yeah, it's actually quite fun, quite taxing. It's a nice little shooter. Great, yeah, happy with that. Fated the Silent Oath. Fated the Silent Oath is another kind of narrative-driven VR story experience thing. Not a hell of a lot of game to it. Again, more of a kind of explore and interact and having conversations and watching a narrative develop basically, and having influence in how that story develops. I've played a little bit of it so far. It's all right, but again, it's obviously an early VR game, and it's not something that would stand out these days at all. But yeah, I'm going to get through to the end of it just to see how that story develops. It's not terrible. It's okay. Nice to have a variety of things you can do in VR. Chorix, I haven't played that yet, but it's got good reviews. It's kind of a strategy game. I don't know a hell of a lot about it. I do know that it's got good reviews though, but very basic but fun little game. Chorix, not played that. Unearthing Mars, another kind of exploration VR story kind of thing, but there's a bit more game to this, I do believe. Yeah, exploring Mars and doing research, that kind of thing. It didn't get fantastic reviews, although there is a quite good looking sequel in the works to it, or a chapter 2, I don't know what you want to call it, a continuation of it. I think it is actually called Unearthing Mars 2, so a sequel. But yeah, that sequel does look pretty good, so they've obviously built on it and made something more robust as a game. So I'll certainly play this in preparation for the next one coming out. But it's just nice to have, yeah, a collection of little indie games on a physical release, and I really hope this happens more often. Let's see if it does moving forward. But that's it. So that's my pickup video. Yeah, still loving that old PSVR, man. And that's it. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.